Hi, everyone. Take your seats. What a week it's been already. It's amazing to have three major industry events all smacked into one here in New York City. It's sort of like a smorgasbord of topics. We here from Comscore are honored to be here and have you join us for this session. So I'm Hanna Gryncwajg. I'm fairly a newbie here at Comscore. I lead a commercial team that's focused on local and on innovation. Prior to joining Comscore, I was with Nexstar, and there I did measurement innovation as well.
And I'm Mandy Leef. I head up our account management team at Comscore, and I've been with Comscore for nearly 10 years, which is wild. So we at Comscore, we are a trusted leader when it comes to consumer measurement. So everything from, someone who is watching a local sports game to streaming content on their phone on the way to work, we are able to capture and measure it all of these real world events. So no matter the size or shape of the brands and businesses, whether you are a publisher or a content provider or an agency or an ad tech platform, all of these businesses and brands, they really trust Comscore and to help them thrive in this local, national buying and selling ecosystem.
So to understand where we are today, I think it's good to take a step back, considering the consumer and the objective role that Comscore plays. We wanted to take a look back at where it all started or where it started for us. It wasn't until 1994 that the first digital ad was served on hotwire.com. But it wasn't until 1999 that Comscore was born. And that's nearly 5 years of the internet training wheels coming off. And it's also 76 years after Nielsen was born.
So in 2000, nearly 40% of U.S. households all had internet access. And in 2001, Comscore launched Media Metrics, which was a first of its kind measurement of online consumer behavior. Up until that point, and really at that time, linear broadcast was the default. So I went back and I looked to see what the top program was in 2001. Does anyone want to venture a guess of the top program in 2001? No takers? It was Friends. And it did a 15 rating. So, gone are the days of that. I think we'd all kill for a 15 rating in prime. But, from there, you flash forward to 2013, and Netflix did something absolutely crazy. They released the entire season of House of Cards all at once. And in doing that, they basically introduced the world to the idea of binge watching. And everyone else sort of moved away from that appointment television, that live appointment viewing.
So in 2016, Comscore was already thinking about the future of cross-platform, and that is when we merged with Rentrak. But it wasn't until 2022, and we all remember that very well with the pandemic, that streaming actually started to surpass linear viewing. And cross-platform at that moment really had a big kickstart. Unfortunately, thankfully for the pandemic, or not thankfully, but Comscore was there.
And in 2020, half the world is on social media. So in order for us to be able to measure and analyze those audiences and how people are using social media, Comscore acquired Shareably, and now we have Comscore Social. Now we jump forward to 2024, and we have had quite the innovative year. It's been a big year for Comscore and innovation. We are now MRC accredited for both local and national TV. We are JIC certified for national currency. And I think the biggest thing that we've done this year that's really exciting is that we listened to our clients and we leaned in and we created personified audiences. And as of this week, that methodology for persons demos is now patented. So super exciting there.
We all know in our industry we're challenged with a lot of jargon words, which are definitely challenging For us, that word is fragmentation. So take your mind out of the gutter for sure. But fragmentation has a tremendous amount of challenges. We all as an industry are challenged with understanding ad effectiveness and having clarity for our investments. And that really brings us to where we are today with Comscore, because we are solving for that.
And we're not afraid of the F word. Frankly, we're excited by it because we know that we can help the industry because we're built differently. And we're built differently than any other measurement company that's out there, especially when it comes to local. Comscore has always had a very clear vision of what it means to be an objective measurement partner. So everything that we do takes a bottom-up approach for us to be able to measure, score, and analyze consumer audiences. So we are starting when we measure at the household level, which rolls up to the zip codes. We then use the zip code building blocks to be able to measure and report on all 210 local markets, which rolls up to our national impressions for households, persons, and everything in between. We are measuring 1/3 of all U.S. TV households, and we then use that big data approach to be able to report on persons data with incredible precision. And we're not just measuring one channel or one device. We are measuring across all devices and all channels. And we are ready to take on whatever, platform that consumers start to view video on next. And we do all of that with accuracy and precision at a 48-hour mark. We turn around our data with our pulse data in 2 days for all 210 local markets, for all stations, which can really let you understand what the halo effect is of your tentpole events, whether it's sports, live sports, whether it's award shows or breaking news.
We also like to consider ourselves as the industry matchmaker because we work as closely with the buy side and as closely with the sell side. So, for example, on the media buyer side, we also want to empower you to travel back in time when a buyer, especially in local, was able to get a solid reach number with just a linear campaign. That doesn't really happen that easily anymore. And so what Comscore is able to do and provide is take you back in time to achieve that reach number by being able to stitch together your linear campaign and your digital campaign and dedupe it to get to a number that you're comfortable with in each of our markets. In addition to that, our data sets help you find valuable audiences across the marketplace. And our affinity audience solutions help you hone in with precision on that target audience, whether that's an auto intender or a travel enthusiast or someone looking to buy a home. All of this provides investment clarity for our buying partners. On the local station side, it's important for sellers to really understand their audience, their inventory's audience, and be able to position and tell their unique story. And our tools and products enable them to do that. In addition to that, because of the fast reporting that we provide, it also puts control in the ability to optimize those plans, whether that's in flight or taking the insights from all of the data that we provide and utilizing for next campaigns. So this is all possible today and in all 210 markets. And probably my favorite slide and favorite solution here is our cross-platform campaign tool. I said earlier that cross-platform was something that we were thinking about in 2016. Well, today it is now available in over 130 markets on a local basis. So that really helps the buy side and the sell side determine or look at actually brand performance of their campaigns. And what benefit is that? There's a ton of benefit. Understanding who the audience is that's watching the linear campaign, who the audience is that's watching the digital campaign or on mobile. Understanding that is very valuable because then you can use that information for further targeting with precision again, in the local markets. Cross-platform has been available for national for quite a while, but it hasn't really been available for local. And we wanted to make sure that we empowered both the buy side and the sell side with cross-platform measurements so they can get to that reach, that incremental reach with digital that they haven't been able to understand in the past. So what you're seeing here is actually a really good example. It's a major broadcast company that used our tool in over 50 markets, in over 50 of their markets, to see the performance of their campaign. And as you can see here, the TV only portion of it delivered almost 60 million impressions. But incremental to that, if you looked at the CTV and PC mobile, you got an additional 13 million impressions to add to your reach, because that's completely deduplicated. Unified, deduplicated reach. I think it's a game changer.
And we have a couple more examples. So this is from the station side of things. We worked with a top-tier broadcast station, and they were working with one of their regional law firm clients. And they decided to use Comscore's cross-platform tool to be able to show the holistic reach across the entire campaign. So in LA, for this campaign, they were looking at TV and CTV. And you can quickly see that the reached unique audience was 7.9 million with very minimal deduplication. We're talking about 0.5%. So you're looking at 44% reach across linear TV and CTV, with exclusively just 670,000 impressions delivered for CTV only. When you look at this, it seems like there's an awful lot of room for some growth here, right? This would give you some opportunity to look at the campaign and figure out how you could tweak things, how you might be able to continue boosting your reach with this particular client. And from an agency perspective, here, this was the trade desk that was working with one of their mid-size agencies, which was a pharma client. And they were able to show that 99.5% of the unique audience was reached exclusively on CTV, with over 14% of that co-viewing was happening on the trade desk CTV inventory than any other major linear partner. So there's a lot of really important information that you can glean when you are able to really pull together one methodology to understand how your campaigns are running and how they are performing across linear, digital, as well as CTV.
So we're not done yet. Part of the reason that Comscore does what it does is because innovation is really in our DNA. And that is what made us build right from the start differently, because we envisioned, sort of clairvoyant, about what that future was going to be, the fragmentation that currently exists. So with that building and with the depth and breadth that we have to be able to measure linear and digital and CTV and dedupe it, to provide the tools that our industry needs to measure their campaign in the way that is needed today, because today we have a very modern ecosystem in the industry. So we want to keep going and working collaboratively with the industry. And we appreciate you being here and listening to us. And certainly if there's any questions, we're happy to respond. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thanks. Based on your data, how are you seeing that dynamic between linear and CTV? Is that division of audiences moving towards streaming, for example, instead of linear, or you're finding that regular linear TV is kind of like setting in a new market or with new audiences?
You know, I think it really comes down to the fact that linear is still king, right? Broadcast is still king, but we are seeing that fragmentation, right, that we talked about. So we need to be able to capture CTV as well. And really, I think it's coming down to that we can't just continue to look at things as just linear or CTV buckets. You kind of have to look at it holistically, because if you start putting things into different buckets, it all starts to kind of fall apart, right? So really the trends we're seeing is that, yes, there are more people, we're continuing to see some of that deprecation of cable and satellite, and we're seeing more and more consumers moving over to streaming, but there still has to be that interplay of both. And same with digital, right? Which is why tools like the cross-platform reporting that we talked about are just so important, because it really does show you on a market by market basis how for a campaign, CTV could be, much higher in one market versus another, but you don't know that until you start looking at it holistically across an entire campaign. Yeah.
Good.
Any other questions?
All right. Thank you all for joining us.